Greetings, friendos, and welcome to the first ever Oktoberfest in April! Yay! Yes, as my little friend over there just alluded to, this is the first ever Oktoberfest in April. Now, first of all, I need to make clear that this is not an April Fool's prank, considering the fact that the first has already come and gone about 2 weeks ago at this point. I figured that y'all would know that, but I just wanted to make that clear. And perhaps, who knows, this may come back again next year. With all that said, let's get right to the point. We're here today to talk about this little guy. Now, most of you may already be familiar with this figure, as he's been in the background of several of my older videos. But recently, I got a request to do a review of him, so here we are. Submitted for your viewing pleasure, I present to you all my review of this Michael Myers doll. He was released around 1998 as part of the R.I.P. Horror Collector series, which was sold exclusively through Spencer's Gifts, and included 6 different dolls. These dolls were modeled after the classic Matchbox Toys talking figures. And I mean, just look at that. See how well they imitated the original look of those figures? Because, I mean, Pee-wee here was made by that company, we all know Freddy was made by that company, and Michael here, he looks like he fits right in. You could see these guys on the shelf together back in the 80s. But with that said, let's get back to what I was saying initially. So he was modeled after these kind of figures, and also were the rest of the dolls in this series. And as stated, there were 6 different figures, and they were modeled after characters from various horror-themed franchises, such as the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt, Ghostface from Scream, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, although the look of the doll seems to be very heavily influenced by his look from Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Michael Myers from Halloween. Around 2001, they decided to add 2 more figures to this collection, bringing the grand total of these R.I.P. Horror Collector dolls from 6 to 8. The new additions were Eric Draven from The Crow, and Dr. Frank N. Furter from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Some interesting things to note here are that of the 8 characters in this set, Michael here was the only one to get a variant, which came in the form of some bloody paint applications to his boots, his knife, the hand holding the knife, his jumpsuit, which also had some bullet hole detailing, and the box for this version also featured some bloody bullet holes. Then there's the fact that for the Freddy Krueger doll, they used the same head and hands from the Matchbox Toys Freddy, right down to the exposed brains on the side of his head. He also is the only one, to my knowledge, to have the year of manufacture stamped onto his boot. And to differentiate their doll further from the 1989 Freddy doll you see here, they gave him brown shoes instead of the original black, like this one. And they decided to add flocking to his hat, and inverted the red and green stripes on his shirt. Just in case y'all weren't aware, flocking is essentially, you see how his hat is like, you know, nice and smooth and kind of shiny? Essentially, they just turned his hat fuzzy. Another thing to note is that while most of the dolls have a voice box that would play a certain clip or phrase from the movie or show that the character is from, Ghostface has a function where you would record your voice and supposedly, it would play back your voice changed to sound like his. Each doll in this series was limited to a certain number of pieces, which, according to the silver sticker on each doll's box, is as follows. There were 30,000 Freddy Kruegers, 100,000 Ghostfaces, 30,000 Leatherfaces, 30,000 Jasons, 30,000 Michaels, 100,000 Bloody Edition Michaels, 30,000 Eric Dravens, and 30,000 Frank N. Furters. In doing research for this video, I decided to torture myself just a little bit and managed to compile a complete list of all the clips and phrases that each of these goofy little dolls would play. So to make up that, I had to do that to myself, for myself, and to make sure that none of you ever have to endure that kind of heartache, I am going to go through the list of what each of the figures do. Are you ready, kids? And everyone else in between? You better be, because here we go. Michael here, and his bloody counterpart, play a snippet from the Halloween theme. Freddy had multiple phrases, such as, "Come to Freddy. Ever play Skin the Cat?" And then he had his laugh, which is actually a downgrade from the original doll from '89, as seen here. He has 6 different phrases, but anyway, let's continue. As mentioned previously, Ghostface had that voice modulator / recorder thingy, and you could make him say just about anything. Frankenfurter played a snippet of the Time Warp song from the Rocky Horror film. The Crypt Keeper had several phrases. "Let the ghoul times roll. All dressed up with no place to ghoul. Ready for your dead time story, kiddies?" And then, of course, his signature cackle, which is actually an upgrade from the original Ace Toys action figure, standing over here, as this guy only has 3 sayings. Then, of course, of that set, the Jason Voorhees played the all-too-familiar ch-ch-ch-ah-ah-ah sound from the movies. Leatherface plays chainsaw sounds along with the woman's screams of terror. And then Eric Draven from The Crow played several phrases and sounds. "It can't rain all the time," then the sound of crows cawing, and then a laugh from him. Another thing that I'd like to note here is that in doing my research for this video, I wound up contributing to the Figure Realm website, as they only had Freddy, Jason, Michael, Ghostface, Leatherface, and the Crypt Keeper, but were missing Frankenfurter and Eric Draven. Now they've got the full set listed on their site, thanks to yours Ghoulie. You're welcome. Okay, now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's get to the actual review of this silly doll, shall we? He stands roughly 18 inches tall, or 45.72 centimeters. His head, hands, and feet, as well as his knife, are all made of plastic, while the body is made out of cloth. And being modeled after the Matchbox Toys dolls, Michael here has a wire frame inside of him that enables him to be very poseable. And to prove my point, there we go. There we go. Got Michael running after Freddy. Hold on, let's get these two in position, shall we? And here we go. Wait, I got a better one. Hold on. Pee-wee, Michael's coming for you. What do you have to say? Of course you would laugh at that. Here we go. And then from off screen, as they run out of sight, Michael gets him. You hear?
I know you are, but
But as I was saying, being modeled after those playthings, Michael here and the others from the line have a nice wire armature that enables them to be posed in all sorts of crazy fashions such as that. The hair on his head is glued on instead of just being rooted in place, much like the masks of movies. And the toy obviously comes with one accessory, which is removable, but it is a bit firmly stuck in there. There we go, which is his trusty kitchen knife. And let's see, and for some reason, whoop, I dropped it. For some reason I dropped it. But he comes with his trusty kitchen knife, which astute observers out in the audience have probably noticed that it's a little small, you know. It makes his hands look huge, and makes him look huge in comparison. The electronic voice box in these figures is fairly good quality for the time, as you've already heard. The tone seems a little higher pitched than one would expect, but again, it's not that bad comparatively, and is fairly easily triggered, as you saw before. The face sculpt on this dude does a fairly good job of capturing his look from the films, while also emulating the fairly cartoonish proportions of the other dolls from this line, which again are emulating this old 1980s Freddy Krueger doll, and other dolls in a similar vein to him. His outfit is a bit off from his appearance in the films, as in most interpretations he's seen wearing a blue set of coveralls, and quite obviously this little fella is wearing grey coveralls, along with a black undershirt, although from what I've seen the undershirt is the correct color as seen on TV. There's honestly not much more I can say about this little fella, other than I'm happy that I was able to get my hands on one after all these years, and that I'm proud to have him in my collection. Though someday I would like to at least add the Crypt Keeper from the set to my collection, I don't think I'd get more than that. The Freddy's pretty cool though, but only time will tell, as of the recording of this, I'm still working on finishing off my set of Tales from the Crypt Keeper action figures, and those things are way cheaper to get a hold of than one of these. Now with that said, I think I'm done here, and I'd like to say thank you all so very much for tuning in for another video. I do truly and greatly appreciate that. And with that, I'll finish this thing off by saying, viewers beware. Subscribe if you dare. Michael, help me scroll down here. Just step on the down arrow. That's it, Mike. A couple more steps. Come on, you gotta get your steps in for the day. Let's go. 1, 2 more. There we go. Alright. And cut.